Deeper Cinema analyzes J'accuse, a 1919 film directed by Abel Gance. J'accuse is a great silent film that stands as a landmark in cinema history, not only for its artistic innovations but also for its powerful thematic exploration of war and its devastating impact on humanity, with its bold storytelling techniques, striking visuals, and profound emotional depth. The film unfolds against the backdrop of World War I, which ravaged Europe from 1914 to 1918, leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair. Gance, himself a veteran of the war, draws upon his personal experiences and observations to craft a searing indictment of the senselessness and brutality of armed conflict. Through the lens of individual lives caught in that hellish war, he exposes the horrors of battle and the toll it exacts on both soldiers and civilians alike.
The film has a poignant love triangle that serves as a microcosm of the larger tragedy unfolding on the battlefield and in the country of France itself. François Laurent, a man of jealous and violent temperament, is married to Edith, the daughter of an upright veteran soldier Maria Lazare. François correctly suspects that Edith is conducting an affair with the poet Jean Diaz, who lives in the village with his mother. François then sends Edith to stay with his parents in Lorraine, where she is subsequently captured and assaulted by German soldiers. The baby that would be born out of that horrible situation will make François even more jealous, and suspecting that Jean is the actual father. Strangely, though, because François and Jean find themselves serving in the same battalion at the front, the tensions between them slowly give way to a close friendship that acknowledges that they both love Edith. That sense of maturity and greater understanding of people and their difficult positions seems to be something that Gance advocates for France and other countries, a form of coexistence in which nobody really gets what they want, but they learn to live together anyway. But Gance, obviously, also accuses and hard. The title itself echoes the famous open letter written by writer Émile Zola in 1898, in which he denounced the injustices of the Dreyfus affair. Like Zola, Gance uses his film as a platform to condemn the atrocities of war and to call attention to the suffering of its victims, which should never be forgotten.
Central to Gance's vision is his use of cinematic techniques to evoke the visceral experience of war. From the opening scenes of marching soldiers to the harrowing battle sequences that punctuate the film, Gance employs innovative camera work and editing to immerse the audience in the chaos and carnage of combat. His use of rapid cutting, dynamic camera angles, and expressive lighting creates a sense of urgency and intensity that is as captivating as it is unsettling. In the film's most iconic sequence, Gance brilliantly stages a mass resurrection of the dead, as fallen soldiers rise from their graves to confront the living and ask them why did they all died for. This surreal and haunting spectacle serves as a powerful metaphor for the lingering trauma of war and the specter of death that haunts those who survive. Through this arresting imagery, Gance challenges his audience to confront the human cost of violence and to reckon with the collective guilt of a society that allows war to persist. What is even more frightening is knowing that this pivotal scene was shot using 2,000 war soldiers, who had themselves gone through hell in the trenches, and while shooting this scene many of them knew that they just might die themselves of the same stupidity that they were accusing everyone in the film, since they would return to battle. Their accusation becomes even more harrowing, and adds a much bitter taste to the audience.
Therefore, J'accuse is a rich film not only on its obvious technical merits, but also in dealing with this duality of embracing understanding between people and also accusing nations and its population of voluntarily joining in a world slaughter that ultimately was extremely pointless. It has optimism in the personal growth of the François, played very well by Séverin-Mars, but also bewilderment at so many people's stupidity. Unfortunately, we all have hindsight to know that what was then called the Great War would later only be acknowledged as World War I, contrary to what was most expected then, including Gance, that was not the war to end all wars, but the war who only served as fuel to another great World War 21 years later. Gance would later try to warn against the return of that stupidity, remaking J'accuse in 1938, but not even a great director like himself had the power to stop an upcoming war. Global stupidity usually wins over historical wisdom.
On a mere cinematic point of view though, Gance here proved that he was already in the top echelon of film directors, and would go on to direct at least 2 more gigantic classics, both in scope as in length, in The Wheel and Napoleon. Séverin-Mars would act in the former, but unfortunately passed away as early as 1921, ending a life and a career that could have blossomed even more. He is the top actor here, and it is not impossible to imagine that he would most likely have played Napoleon had he lived until 1927, since he was a favorite actor for Gance. Romuald Joubert and Maurice Dovray are also very good, both in sensitive performances, and Dovray is constantly torn between two men and also her sense of honor and duty to tell the truth, no matter how painful. More than 100 years later, Accuse stands as a towering achievement in the early history of cinema, a work of art that transcended its historical context to speak to the universal human experience. It has powerful scenes, compelling characters and situations, and is still an accusation of human stupidity and lack of understanding. It showed that cinema, even still so young, had the power to provoke thought, stir emotions, and at least try to bring some changes to the world.
This was an analysis of deeper cinema to the film Accuse, directed by Abel Gance, a film that was ranked second place by the channel in the period 1895 to 1919. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and we hope this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.